Hey guys, thanks for checking this video out. It looked like a lot of people got a lot of value out of the how-to fifth wheel video. Just a lot of basic knowledge, something for beginners to kind of get their feet into RVing. So I decided to do a how to motorhome video. Since switching from the fifth wheel to the motorhome, some things have gotten easier, some things have gotten a little bit more difficult. I figured I would share our experience RVing with a fifth wheel and a motorhome with you. All motorhomes are going to be different. There's some basic similarities in leveling jacks and using blocks on the jacks and not taking your tires off the ground. There's some universal things, so I'm going to go over those things with you. That'll get you zeroed in on the basics at least. For reference sake, this is a 2014 Coachman Encounter 36BH. It's on the F53 chassis. That's a fairly common Class A motorhome chassis. So most of this is going to apply to a broad range of Class A's. It's a dually on basically, I think, a commercial truck chassis. Yeah, I think that's what it is. Okay, first things first. As you're approaching the campsite, you're looking for a few things. You're looking for electrical hookups, water hookups, and sewer hookups. Maybe you don't get all three of those things with your RV park, but that's kind of the full hookup standard. You're looking for which side it's on, how far back it is to the front of the campsite, and most, if not all, RVs have their hookups on the driver's side of the vehicle. So you're going to be backing up to that. I like to go ahead and plug this in. This is a Progressive Industries surge protector and analyzer. It's the EMS PT50X model. I really like this one. I had the Camco one and it worked well, but it did get fried. And so this is what I've replaced it with. I've been using this for 2 years. Been very happy with it. It analyzes for the circuitry. I'm not really an electric guy, so I don't fully understand it, but bad things like open grounds will be detected. So yeah, I plug this in. It takes about 20 seconds for it to fully analyze the system, and it'll give you a thumbs up if it's good to go. So before you back in, before you fully commit to a site, plug this in, just make sure the site is good to go. While you're at it, go ahead and open the water connection, make sure that's good. Go ahead and flush the line. Who knows how long it's been since that line has been used. There might be all kinds of sediment in there. So here's the water source at the RV park. We're just gonna kind of crack it to see if it opens up and flushes. Okay, well, it looks like this one may be out of service or it's just been winterized. I'm not sure. We're gonna go find out. But that is how you would turn on the water if it worked. Go ahead and uncap the sewer plug. Usually it's a threaded fitting, so just you can unscrew that. They're usually plastic threads, so you got to make sure those aren't damaged so you can actually tighten into it. And that's about it. If those three things are good to go, then you're ready to park your rig. Today we're going to be pulling into a pull-through site, which is nice because I don't have to back up. We're going to pull in, and I'm going to show you how to level out. Now, the ground is seemingly very level, but what you'll find in motorhomes is that they don't level out quite as well as, say, trailers or fifth wheels. I don't know, there's a big difference in it. I could get the fifth wheel on some very uneven terrain. The motorhome's a little bit more sensitive. There's not as much throw on the landing jacks. So you kind of have to improvise. You have to throw things underneath the jacks. You have to jack up the tires. But I'll show you how to do that. This campsite is brought to you by my parents, my awesome parents, who've let us stay on their property during the winter while we're kind of trying to stay out of the cold. So this is the site that I'm going to pull into. I'm going to pull forward. I'm going to show you how unlevel it is, even though it looks fairly level, and then we're going to level out. Now, a couple things you really want to be careful of is I'm pretty close to those trees on the driver's side of the RV. I'm just familiar with this property, so I know I can get my slides out without hitting them. but that's something you need to take into consideration. A lot of these, especially Thousand Trails campgrounds, are heavily wooded. So to maximize your living space on one side, you need to kind of butt up against the trees on the other side. So now that I'm right around where I want to be, I need to level this thing out, right? And it's hard to do because you can't tell if the camera's level or not. But I mean, that looks like a fairly level campsite. But in actuality, the rear of the RV is lower than the front by about almost 2 feet. Now, if I were to just use the jacks to level this thing out right now, without putting anything under the tires, I would actually raise the RV up off of its tires using the jacks alone. This isn't a really good idea. I think most manufacturers warn against doing that. I guess you can get into some frame issues when you're doing that. I don't really know. I've had the front tires off of the ground before overnight. Wasn't crazy about it. Started hearing some clicking noises coming from the jacks as they kind of settled. I don't like it. So I like to keep some weight still on the tires. And the way you do that is by putting leveling blocks underneath the tires, just to kind of get you in the ballpark. Then use the leveling jacks to raise up the RV and get it perfectly level. In this case, I've pulled forward as much as I want to go forward, so I'm going to back up onto the leveling blocks, and I just kind of eyeball it. At this point, I know that I'm going to need at least 3 high underneath the dualies, and it looks like the right side is low a little bit. You can check that with a level. I've installed bubble levels on the RV, so I know right when I've parked which side is low. In this instance, the passenger side of the motorhome is low, and also the rear is low. So I'm going to put leveling blocks underneath the passenger side dually and the passenger side front. And that should get me in the ballpark. Since I'm backing up onto the leveling blocks, obviously I need to put them behind the tires. I'm going to put them there. Now, I use these, I think they're called Lynx leveling blocks. Kind of like Legos. They just kind of lock into each other. They're kind of nice, they're convenient, they're lightweight. If you can see, I've kind of done a pyramid so that the tires can actually roll up on them, and it's 3 levels high. That's about what I need. I put 2 sets back there because those are the dualies. Now we're going to go put some blocks behind the front passenger tire. Now on the rear tires, I could butt the leveling blocks right up against the tire. There were 3 on the bottom row. On this one, on the front tire, I need to set the blocks back just a hair so that when it's resting on the middle of the top block, it's also resting on the middle of the top block in the back. So you kind of just have to eyeball it. So I'm leaving a half space. That way it lines up right. So one thing that's really important to remember is it doesn't apply on this rig, but on a lot of Class A's with airbag suspensions on them that lower when you park. You got to make sure the front wheels are pointed straight. If they're turned, what can happen is the chassis can actually lower and lower onto the tire. And then that's when you end up with bent frames, cracked floors, like tile floors. Not good. So always make sure the tires are pointed straight forward when you're leveling these things out. Now it's not perfectly level now, but that's not the point. The point is just to get the tires up so that when I level it with the jacks, I'm not actually taking the tires off the ground. Okay, so before we put the jacks down, on the side that's going to be raised up the most, or all of them if you can, put something down underneath the jacks. Remember, the farther the jacks are extended, the more wobbly it's going to be inside the RV. So put something down, especially something with a big footprint. That way it's not going to sink into the ground. Right underneath the jack. Then you can raise it up. In this case, I've got enough for all 4 jacks, so I'm going to do that. So now I can use the electric leveling jacks. These are really, really nice. Now, I will say it came calibrated incorrectly. So I can hit auto, which I will for like overnight stuff. But when you're staying for more than a couple days, if it's off a little bit, you can tell. So what I do is I just level it out electrically, but manually. So this is the LCI electric leveling module. I think there's different brands. I'm not familiar with any other one other than LCI. You can see I've installed these bubble levels. When I had it leveled out, I installed these, and that way I can do it from the driver's seat. I don't have to get my construction level out at all. So first thing I do is turn the module on. It's telling me the rear is low and the left side is low. I engage the manual override by pushing and holding manual. And I start bringing down the rear jacks. This level right here is my front to back level, so you'll see it begin to move once I level out. So there it is, perfectly level front to back. Now we work on the side to side. Alright, now that the front to back and the side to side are leveled out, we're ready to start setting up the camper. Now it's time to open the slides. Not before the jacks are down, after the jacks are down. So we're going to start bringing these slides out. This control module, we put a picture in front of it so we wouldn't have to look at this control panel all the time. I'm going to bring out the master bedroom slide. And now the main slide. Okay, now that that's taken care of, the next thing to do is connect power, water, and sewer, and you're good to go. When you're connecting to water, make sure to use a pressure regulator. A lot of RVs, the plumbing can't handle more than 45 to 60 psi, so they recommend using a pressure regulator attached to the spigot to regulate the pressure coming in to make sure you don't burst any pipes. When you're connecting to a sewer line, make sure that you're using a threaded fitting or a sewer donut so that no gases are getting out and annoying your neighbors. It's also very important that you use gravity to your advantage. You want to make sure that your poo runs downhill. The last thing is when you're connecting to your electricity, make sure that your AC units are turned off. Only after your RV has shoreline power do you turn on the air conditioning units. So now that you're hooked up to all the utilities, the rig is level, and the slides are out, you're ready to enjoy your time camping. I am by no means an expert on this, but I have been living in this thing for the past 3 years. If there's something you do differently or something that you think I missed, let me know in the comments. Subscribe, I'd really appreciate it if you did, and check out our other videos.